My name is Eric Davis. I am managing editor at Fandango. I am so glad to be here. I'm thrilled to be here. I think you just watched one of the best films of the year. Without a doubt, the most soulful movie of the year. It is a powerful story about love, about family, about injustice. It is a film that demands to be seen. It demands to be heard. Give it up for that score from Nicholas Patel, please, a little bit. The music in this film is phenomenal. It is a film that demands to be felt. Every time I watch this, and I've watched it 4 times now, my heart is just, it's all there. And it is a film that demands to be discussed, and in my opinion, it is adapted and written by a man who I feel has emerged as one of the great and most necessary storytellers of our time. And I am thrilled for you, because we have some folks that worked on the film here today, and I'm going to introduce them right now, beginning with producers Adele Romansky and Sarah Murphy. The director of If Beale Street Could Talk, Mr. Barry Jenkins. Yeah. And I want you to get loud for this woman, because you know she's here because she wanted to talk to New York about this movie. Playing Sharon, Regina King. All right, Barry, I'm going to start with you. You know, for some people who aren't familiar with James Baldwin, what did he mean to you, and why this particular piece of his work did you want to adapt?
Yeah, I mean, James Baldwin meant everything to me. When I discovered his work, I was just amazed that someone who came from essentially the same place that I came from could speak so directly, was brave enough to speak so directly to so many different truths of the human experience. And for me, when I first read this book, I was just amazed at how clearly it combined the 2 voices of Baldwin. The one voice, which you found in literature most often, that was obsessed with sensuality and romance and interpersonal relationships, and then the other voice that you find in the essays like The Fire Next Time, which is as obsessed, as passionate with systemic injustice. And I feel like those 2 voices were blended in the story of Tish and Fonnie and the Rivers family.
Regina, talk to me about why you wanted to play this woman. She's strong, she's resilient. A lot of the characters you've played over the years are strong and resilient. What was it about her that spoke to you in this moment that you wanted to play her?
Well, it was the piece. I mean, it was James Baldwin, helmed by Barry Jenkins. That was the attraction. I felt the love story in Barry's script. Once I read the book, it was even deeper. I felt like Barry's adaptation was spot on. I really didn't feel like I missed any of the scenes that didn't make it to the script, because anytime you do an adaptation, everything is gonna make it. But just talking to Barry and the love story that takes place around the lovers, the love stories that are happening around the lovers, that's what was interesting and what made me want to be a part of it outside of Barry Jenkins and James Baldwin.
You know, there's love stories. It's also a great story about family. Adele and Sarah, what was that vibe of family on the set? Because I feel like when you look at this cast, they do feel like a family. And was it that same feeling on the set?
Yeah, of course it was. I mean, I think, you know, when we were casting the film, we were tasked with building a family, starting with our leads, Tish and Fonnie. And then from there, we built out this family. And then it was such a beautiful thing to actually watch on set how quickly Regina and Coleman and Kiki and Stefan and everybody actually became a family, living in a house as if it was their house, making it a home with Teona. So, yeah.
Sarah,
I would say also Barry was working with a team of people that he had also worked with on Moonlight, and so bringing back his family from that film to collaborate on this film also felt there was a comfort there and sort of an environment for love.
Family is a theme.
It is a theme.
Outside and inside the film.
Did you feel like that on set?
Oh,
Did you feel like it was a
absolutely,
family?
absolutely. It starts at the top. I mean, in any production you're a part of, it starts at the top, and I think that's the reason why Adele wanted to continue to working with Barry. We all feel like he's just creating spaces for us as artists to spread our wings and feel safe when we want to try new things. So it's terrifying. But when a space is being created where you feel safe, it's not so terrifying and you push yourself even more.
You know, one of the things I love about this film, Barry, is that you linger. You know, you linger in so many scenes and so many shots, and I feel like because of that, the film lingers with you. And you'll see when you leave, you'll be thinking about this film 5 months later because it just does linger with you. And I'm curious to know why take that strategy. Was it because James Baldwin's words sort of lingered in their description? Is that why you kind of wanted that to convey that in the film as well?
I mean, partly. I think, you know, when we're on set and we're working, I want the actors to have, you know, as much space as is necessary. You know, when you read a book, quite often you'll go 2 or 3 pages between lines of dialogue. That's when the interior voice is being spoken. And I think even though cinema isn't the best medium for interiority, I do think the actors should have the same leeway to allow themselves to go into that interior space and just allow the scenes to breathe, allow the performance to breathe. Especially working with James Baldwin's source material, which is so dense and so interior. I felt like, you know, Regina and Kiki Coleman, Brian and everyone else, I think they deserve to have the space to just be in those performances. And, you know, Joy and Nat did a great job of understanding that this was going to be a movie where at times it was going to be very loud, but then I think it was as effective to pull the sound away in the absence of sound, where you guys have to just live in the feelings, the emotions of the characters.
I want to come out to you guys if you have any questions in a minute. But Regina, I wanted to ask you, you know, this film was shot, a lot of it in Harlem, by the way, so it is a New York film, true and true. But the scenes in Puerto Rico that take place there, I think I found very moving, especially for your character. And I think the definition, in my opinion, of a great performance is one that shows so much versatility in a moment. And I feel like in those moments in Puerto Rico, you show so much versatility. And the scene with Emily, I'm just curious to know what you were thinking about going into it, and what did Barry tell you, and sort of how intense did you rehearse with Emily? Did you go right in with her?
We definitely didn't have any rehearsal, and I think that would have taken away from the emotion is so raw, and there is a, throughout the film, even before we get to Puerto Rico, I think what we know is that that Sharon, Ernestine, know that this woman has been raped, and they are sensitive to that, and they're explaining to Tish that even though she's feeling, well, you know, why is this woman lying on my man? You know, this is thank God Tish has never had to feel that horror. Yeah. And while in my mind I believe that Sharon and Ernestine probably have never been raped, they have been alongside of women who have, and most women out there have experienced it or have lived it with another woman. And there was this, I don't even think we necessarily spoke of it often, but we just had this understanding. Emily Rios, the abuelitas that came out, they all understood this pain that Emily's character Victoria was living, and that, what is the right word, that, I don't think synergy is the right word, because you usually think of that as a more positive word, but I guess in a way it is positive, because it is something that women that we do. We support with each other without words. Yeah. That was always happening. And I feel like that came out in our performance, also because Emily and I both respect each other so much as artists. Yeah. We wanted to make sure that each other knew that I got you. And that was happening without saying. I think that's a testament to our casting, to Barry. When you vet people and you vet your actors, you bring in actors that respect the art the same way you do.
Well, you were incredible in that moment. You were incredible in this film. Do we have, you could applaud for that, that's good. Because she is.
Wait, I just
Go
it's
ahead,
like
Barry,
a
go ahead,
Jeb Bush,
Barry.
a Jeb Bush moment. You can clap now.
I sense one guy was just like, no, I want to clap. So I was
Hey,
like,
I
let's
got no
go,
problems
let's
with
let it
Jeb.
out.
I got no problems with Jeb. I'm just saying.
Yeah, do we have questions? Yes, sir, right here.
This film, Moonlight, I just saw you watch your short, Barry, My Josephine, and they all depict love in very different but relatable ways. I want to ask, what do you think should go into more contemporary modern films about love and relationships that aren't going into? Could you tell so many like different variations of great different stories like that?
Yeah, I guess, especially reflecting on this film here, I think, we just live in a time, and not even just now, I think for the last few hundred years, where love can't exist in a vacuum. It's always grounded in some element of social reality. And so I think if you want to take a love story, not necessarily elevate it, but bring some gravitas to it, it's got to be rooted in some social reality. Chiron and Kevin in Moonlight can't be together for some reasons that are rooted in the social reality that they are born into. And now with these characters who are essentially soulmates who should live to be 99 years old and have 99 damn babies, they can't because of the social reality of the time they're living in, the system that just wants to feed itself and employs agents who very devilishly manipulate it. So I think if you ground a love story in some element of social reality, it takes it from here, and I think brings it to a place where so many people can relate to it.
Thank you. Hi, guys. Oh my God, Regina, you're awesome. You as well, Sir Barry.
Thank you.
My heart is racing, and I apologize for my hair, guys. Not really apologizing, but
Can't see it.
First and foremost, this was amazing, and I know as a historian and an actor, it was triggering and refreshing. Triggering because I don't know if people know how real this is. Like, I'm shaking. I was crying several times during the film, but this is a system that is destroying Black families still. How do artists, how do we say this is serious, this is not entertaining?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question. Regina's been at it more diligently than I have, and so maybe you have a better answer than I will give. But I think all you can do is create the work and create it in a way that does due diligence and pays due respect to the emotions you are feeling right now. I think that there are so many opportunities to create so many different stories in so many different ways, but I think you see that the generation that we're living in right now, I'll speak about myself and my contemporaries, my peers, I think people are choosing to speak on very real things. And I think that's really all you can do. Or I think, to me, if you do that, that is honorable and that is responsible and necessary. Because I think you can't underestimate the effect that creating work that speaks to the emotion you're speaking of right now, you can't underestimate the effect that will have in either someone next to you, the generation behind you, or even the generation ahead of you. And so I think putting work into the universe that is honest and true, case in point, this novel was published 45 years ago. 45 years ago, had never been adapted. And here it is, you just sat down and watched it, and based on what I'm hearing in your voice, it moved you. And so I think even though it took 45 years, putting that truth in it, one, made it timeless, and two, made it relevant. And I think just in the act of Mr. Baldwin committing these stories that, as you said, are about the ways in which American society, these systems are disenfranchising the lives and souls of Black folks, it was there. And it could have been another 87 years, and it probably would still be relevant, unfortunately. But he put that good energy into it, and here we are receiving that gift. So I think we just got to keep creating, and and also give our politicians hell. But we got to just keep creating.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Also, it's very refreshing to see dark-skinned Black people opposite each other.
I will say, Stefan's character in the book is written to be light-skinned. Fani is very particularly written to be light-skinned. There was this element of colorism where when the Hunts walk in the door, you can very clearly tell they are light-skinned. Tish's family is dark-skinned. So there's another element of why Mrs. Hunt thinks, as Kiki says, as Tish says, Fonny's mother didn't think I was good enough for Fonny. But Stephan James gave this amazing performance. And so typically, a character is written dark skin and cast light skin. But if you're going to go a different way, go this way. So we went this way. Yeah.
Wisma, in the hat right here. Yeah, I love the hat.
From reading the book, I was wanting to understand your thought process and what influenced the change in the ending. From this ending and both from the book, it aches, right? Like there's almost an openness, but I was just interested in that shift.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop a spoiler here for those of y'all that ain't read the book. But the book is dope. There's stuff outside the ending that is dope, so you should still read it. But if you haven't read the book, yeah, the ending of the film is different than the ending of the book. It was the biggest change that we made. And if you're a filmmaker in the auditorium, you might have noticed it went New York unit, Dominican Republic unit, and then LA unit. Like, why? It's because we were in post and realized we needed to change the ending. We needed to extend the ending. We added this coda. The ending of the book is, we actually filmed the ending of the book, I should say. So there's a version of the film that has it. But Tish comes home from visiting Fonny, and then Sharon walks in and is saying, "How's Fonny?" She's like, "He's fine. They beat him up, but they didn't beat him." And then Joseph, Coleman Domingo's character, comes in and says they found Frank. And so Michael Beach's character has committed suicide. And in the stress of understanding that her fiance's father has committed suicide, Tish goes into labor and just has the baby, and the book ends, and that's it. Now, the performance that Stephan James gives in the last prison visit, people would see the film and they would assume that he went back and he committed suicide because you never saw him again. And so we have the son committing suicide, we have the father committing suicide, we now have a baby with no father and no grandfather because these two men have committed suicide. And I just didn't want to kill another black patriarch, and so I decided we have to extend the ending. And again, I think you watch the actors, they take possession of the story, and Stephan says, I'm going to build us a great big table, and our family's going to eat off it for a long, long time to come. And in the end, the last shot you see is the family sitting around a great big table. Not the table he promised to build, but it's the table they have, and the family's intact, the child is born and healthy, there's prayer, there's faith, and they're joined as a unit. The system has not broken them. And so that's why we decided to extend the ending.
We're going to do one more right there. I see her. I know you've had your hand up.
Hi. So from one James Baldwin fan to another, my question is, why this book and not another book? I mean, I feel like all James Baldwin's works are very relevant, no matter how long ago it was written. But why Beale Street?
A part of it was, again, the two voices of Baldwin were blended in this book, but I'll go even one step further. I wrote this in the summer of 2013, at the same time that I wrote the script for Moonlight on the same writing trip. Didn't have the rights to the book when I wrote it, but we'll just disregard that. But there's this idea of nature versus nurture, and I was really obsessed with that at the time that I wrote these two screenplays. And the way I think of it is, if you took Regina's character, Sharon, out of Beale Street and made her the mom in Moonlight, if you took Naomi Harris's character in Moonlight and made her the mom in Beale Street, how would that affect the lives of those two children? Nature versus nurture, circumstances. They're both black moms in these black families under very different circumstances, trying to do the best they can to give their child a better world than the world they inhabited. And so in that way, it just felt like, again, at the time, never expected to make the film, didn't expect to make either. She knew we were gonna make both of them, so bless her, but I had no idea. And for me, Giovanni's Room was probably my favorite James Baldwin novel, but it didn't give me the same opportunity to work out this idea. I was born into the family of Moonlight. Would I be sitting here talking to you right now if I was born into the family of the Rivers? I don't know, but the artistic voice in my head said, let me work both these things out. And so that was why I chose this one.
Awesome. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, this film is in theaters now. If you dug it, you liked it, it means something to you, please tell your friends.
Tell a friend, tell a friend.
It's a great Christmas gift.
Yes, tell your aunties, tell your grandmas. We were at the screen at the AMC. There were like 3 babies in the auditorium, like 2-year-old people, man. They dug the hell out of it. So tell the babies too, all right? I'm serious, no lie. Tell the babies, all right?
I want to
Appreciate
thank
y'all.
Regina King, Barry Jenkins, Sarah
Thank
Murphy,
you.
Adela Ramen, and Steve. Thank you very much.